Central nervous system. Central nervous system, the important topics: meningitis, seventh nerve, fifth nerve, migraine, and headache and epilepsy. These are the important topics from central nervous system. So fifth and seventh nerve is important for you people also, because damage can occur during any procedure. So you should know the course of seventh nerve and fifth nerve and its significance. So there are 12 cranial nerves, 1 to 12. All of you know, already you studied in first year. So seventh nerve is facial nerve. It is a mixed nerve, means having both component, sensory plus motor component. So fifth is trigeminal and seventh is facial. So first we discuss about seventh nerve and its paralysis or palsy of the seventh nerve is called Bell's palsy. So this is the photo of Bell's palsy patient, or how the patient of seventh nerve palsy presented to you. So this is lower motor neuron type of seventh nerve palsy called as Bell's palsy. Patient presented like that: deviation of mouth, inability to close the eye, and drooling of saliva. So it is the asymmetry of the face. This is called asymmetry of face. So patient usually presented with asymmetry of face, deviation of mouth, unable to close eye, and drooling of the saliva. So it is seventh nerve palsy. It is the seventh cranial nerve. It is also the nerve of second brachial arch, because it supplies the muscles from second brachial arch. So it is the supply of seventh nerve. So having spatial sensory efferent. Efferent means motor component and afferent means sensory component. So spatial visceral efferent, that is brachial motor. So it supplies the muscles of facial expression. Seventh nerve supply muscles of facial expression plus posterior belly of digastric, stylohyoid and stapedius. So this is the muscle supply of seventh nerve, and all these are the muscles from second brachial arch. These are the muscles from second brachial arch. That's why it is spatial visceral efferent. Spatial visceral motor, are also called branchial motor. Means these are the muscles of second brachial arch. So it supply muscles of facial expression, posterior belly of digastric and stylohyoid and stapedius muscles. Now, general visceral motor. General visceral motor. Visceral motor. So it supply parasympathetic innervation, that is secretomotor fibers to lacrimal glands, submandibular gland and sublingual glands, as well as mucous glands of nasopharynx and palate. So that is general visceral efferent. So parasympathetic supply, that is secretomotor fibers. Then muscles of second brachial arch. The spatial sensory include, it carried taste sensation from anterior two-third of tongue. It carried taste sensation from anterior two-third of tongue, as well as hard and soft palate. Then general somatic afferent. Afferent means sensory component. General somatic afferent means general sensation from the skin of concha of the auricle, that is ear, the conchal part of ear, and from a small area behind the ear. So it carries general sensation. General sensation means pain sensation, touch sensation from the skin of concha of the ear and a small area behind the ear. That is general somatic efferent. Spatial efferent means taste sensation. It carries taste sensation. So afferent component include to carry taste sensation and to carry general sensation. Efferent component include muscles of second brachial arch and secretomotor fibers to submandibular, sublingual, lacrimal gland, as well as mucous glands of nasopharynx and palate. So that is the supply of seventh nerve. Now the course of seventh nerve having 3 parts or 4 parts: intracranial course, then intrapetrous part, then exit from the skull, and extracranial course. So the course of seventh nerve is divided into 4 parts. हॅलो, हां बोला ना सर. हां नाही, ते येणारच नव्हते आज येणारच नव्हते. मीच त्यांना म्हणलं माझं असं आहे का, बरोबर, जावा जावा, येणार नाही ते. हो हो चालतं, मी त्यांना उद्या बोलवले. उद्या आहेत का? हा. माझं या जरा लेक्चर होतं, पुन्हा म्हटलं मला तुमच्यासोबत येता यायचं नाही, माझं लेक्चर मध्ये मी अर्धा तास अडकेल, तुम्ही येऊच नका त्याच्यापेक्षा म्हणलं. मला एक गडबड होती म्हणून मी त्यांना आज म्हटलं होतं. हा नाही आलता त्याचा फोन राहुलचा, पण मी त्याला म्हणलं उद्या येईल. ठेवू का? So intracranial course, intrapetrous part, exit from the skull, and extracranial course. So divided into 4 parts. So intracranial course means origin from the pons and then entry into internal acoustic meatus, and then the course in the ear, then exit from the skull and extracranial course. So intracranial course, which include the fibers from the motor nucleus course through the pons, taking a sharp bend around the abducent nucleus, producing internal JNU of the facial nerve. Then they leave the pons between the nucleus of spinal tract of trigeminal and other facial. So nucleus or the origin is from the pons. So the nucleus of sphenic nerve lies in pons. It takes acute bend around the abducent nerve, that is around the sixth nerve. Then it courses down up to internal acoustic meatus, and then enter into internal acoustic meatus, and then its intrapetrous course starts. The nucleus is in the pons. The fibers of the nerve arise from 4 nuclei, which are situated in the lower pons. Motor nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus for secretomotor fibers. Lacrimetal nucleus is also parasympathetic, that is secretomotor. Nucleus of tractus solitarius, which is for taste sensation, which is gustatory and also receive afferent fibers from the glands. So nucleus of tractus solitarius is for taste sensation. This lacrimetal nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus, these are for secretomotor fibers, and this motor nucleus is for the muscles. The motor nucleus, it lies deep in the reticular formation of lower pons, the part of nucleus that supply the muscles of upper part of the face. It receives corticonuclear fiber. Corticonuclear fiber means fibers from the cerebral cortex. The fibers from motor cortex from both sides, right as well as left side. So your upper half of face, having innervation from both sides of cerebral hemisphere. Your upper half of the face having innervation from both sides of cerebral hemisphere, right as well as left, means there is bilateral innervation for the upper half of the face. The part of nucleus that supplies muscles of lower part of the face receive corticonuclear fibers only from opposite side. So the lower part of the face receive innervation from only one side, that is from the opposite cerebral hemisphere. The facial nerve, 2 roots, motor and sensory. It is a mixed nerve. These 2 roots of the facial nerve, these are attached to the lower border of pons, just medial to the epicranial nerve. These 2 roots, they run laterally and forward along with the vestibulocochlear nerve, that is the 8th nerve, and there is the internal acoustic meatus. Then inside the meatus, the motor root, it lies in the groove on the 8th nerve with the sensory root intervening. Here, the 7th and 8th nerve, these are accompanied by labyrinthine vessels. This is intrameatal course. At the bottom or fundus of the meatus, these 2 roots, sensory and motor, they fuse and form a single drum. And this lies in the petrous part of temporal bone. That is intrapetrous course. So from pons, courses down up to internal acoustic meatus, enters internal acoustic meatus, and its course started in the inner ear or the intrapetrous part of the temporal bone. So intrapetrous course divided into three segments. Meatal segment, it is the internal acoustic meatus where the motor root is lodged in a groove on the anterior inferior surface of eighth nerve. At the bottom, the two roots join and form a single drum. That is meatal segment. Then labyrinthine segment, it passes laterally above the vestibule of inner ear to reach the anterior end of medial wall of middle ear. Here it bends backwards and form a sharp turn, which is called external genu, or also having geniculate ganglia on. So in inner ear, course in the ear, having a new ganglia, that is geniculate ganglia. So it lies in the inner ear. This is labyrinthine segment. Meatal segment, labyrinthine segment. See, this is the geniculate ganglia. This is intracanalicular, that is internal acoustic meatus, meatal part. Then take a sharp bend. Take a sharp bend. Here it lies geniculate ganglia. This is the labyrinthine part, sharp bend, and then start tympanic part, and then downward, and then exit from the skull. So that is the course of facial nerve in the ear. It is like that. This course is like that, having two bends. This one bend, this is second bend. This first bend, here lies the geniculate ganglia. So this is the course of seventh nerve in the ear. This is the course in ear. Actually, it is the intrapetrous part of temporal bone. Course intrapetrous part of temporal bone or intrapetrous course. Once it enters internal acoustic meatus and then exit from the skull. Then tympanic segment. So this is the tympanic segment. This is geniculate ganglia. This is tympanic segment. It passes backward in the medial wall of middle ear till it reaches the posterior end of the skull. This is also the horizontal part. It is the horizontal part. Tympanic segment is horizontal, and then it becomes vertical. And then comes the vertical segment. This vertical segment is mastoid part. This vertical segment is mastoid part. So this is the meatal part. Then this is labyrinthine part. Then tympanic part, and this is the mastoid part. So it begins at the posterior end of the medial wall, passes downward in relation to the posterior of middle ear, and is the stylomastoid foramen. So this is the mastoid part. The vertical segment is mastoid segment. This horizontal segment is tympanic segment. This is labyrinthine part with geniculate ganglia, and this is intracanalicular or meatal part. The facial nerve, it leaves the skull through stylomastoid foramen, exit from the skull through stylomastoid foramen. Then, after exit from the skull, it courses through the parotid gland. It enters the posterior medial surface of the parotid gland. It courses through the parotid gland and terminates into terminal branches. And then terminate into terminal. So it courses across the parotid gland and terminates into terminal branches. The terminal branches, they radiate like a goose feet, like that. The branches radiate like that, like a goose feet from the entire border of the parotid gland. So it is called pes anserinus. See, like that. These are the terminal branches of seventh nerve. So it just look like a goose foot, or called as pes anserinus. So this is the course across the parotid gland. Now the branches of seventh nerve and its distribution. So branches in the facial canal, that means its course in the ear. So branches in the ear, it gives Three branches in the ear: greater petrosal nerve, nerve to stapedius. This is a small muscle in the ear. Chorda tympani nerve, which is important to carry taste sensation from anterior to third of tongue. Greater petrosal nerve supplies secretomotor fibers to lacrimal glands and mucosal glands. So in the facial canal, greater petrosal, nerve to stapedius, and chorda tympani are the three branches. Now once it exits from the skull at the stylomuscular foramen, it gives posterior auricular nerve to carry general sensory fibers from the ear, posterior auricular nerve, nerve to posterior of digastric, and nerve to styloforamen. And then terminal branches in the face, where it courses across the parotid gland. Terminal branches are temporal, zygomatic, buccal, mandibular, and cervical. These are the terminal branches. So in the ear, it gives a small branch to stapedius muscle. What is the function of this stapedius muscle? The muscle dampens the excessive vibration caused by the stapes, or the excessive vibration of the stapes, which is caused by high pitch sound. So it dampens. So if there is paralysis of this stapedius muscle occur, there occurs hyperacusis. Means a normal voice appear as a very loud voice to the patient. That is called as hyperacusis. That is opposite to deafness. It is opposite to deafness. A normal voice also appear as a loud voice. So the patient, that is hyperacusis. So the function of stapedius is to damp excessive vibration of stapes caused by high pitch sound. So if there is paralysis of stapedius muscle, paralysis of seventh nerve, there occurs hyperacusis. So the function of greater petrosal nerve, as I told you, the postganglionic parasympathetic fibers arising in the ganglion ultimately supply lacrimal gland and mucosal glands of nose, palate, and pharynx. That is the function of greater petrosal nerve, to give secretomotor fibers to lacrimal gland and mucosal glands of nose, palate, and pharynx. Chorda tympani, taste sensation from anterior to third of tongue. So the ganglion associated or related with the stem of nerve. The important ganglion is geniculate ganglion. It is located on the first vein of the facial nerve in relation to medial wall of middle ear. It is a sensory ganglion. The taste fibers present in the nerve are present in this geniculate ganglion. So this is one ganglion. Second is submandibular ganglion. It is a parasympathetic ganglion for relay of secretomotor fibers to submandibular and sublingual salivary glands. So, geniculate ganglion, submandibular ganglion, and pterygoparietal ganglion. These are the three ganglion related with the facial nerve. Pterygoparietal ganglion, it is the largest parasympathetic peripheral ganglion. It serves as a relay station for secretomotor fibers to the lacrimal gland. This is for taste fibers, geniculate ganglion. This is for submandibular and sublingual gland, and this is for lacrimal gland and mucous glands of nose, palate, and pharynx. So secretomotor fibers to lacrimal gland and to the mucous glands of nose, palate, and pharynx. Three ganglion, geniculate ganglion, submandibular ganglion, and pterygoparietal ganglion. The three ganglion they work. So ultimately, the function of facial nerve, it is responsible for contraction of muscles of facial expression, or it supplies the muscles of facial expression. Then secretomotor fibers to the glands, submandibular, sublingual, lacrimal, mucous glands, then taste sensation from the tongue, and general sensory to the part of ear. General sensory to the part of ear. So that is the supply and function of seminal nerve. Now the terminal branches which supply the muscles of facial expression. So which are the muscles of facial expression and what are their actions? Which are the muscles of facial expression and what are their actions? So, frontalis muscle responsible for wrinkling, corrugator supercilii responsible for frowning or vertical wrinkles of the forehead, orbicularis oculi responsible for closure of eye, orbicularis oris responsible for whistling, buccinator responsible for puffing the mouth, dilator of the mouth that is showing the teeth, then platysma forcibly pulling the angle of mouth downward and backward. So these are the muscles of facial expression and their action. Now we see facial nerve paralysis. So facial nerve paralysis is two types: upper motor neuron, lower motor neuron. Upper motor neuron means above the nucleus, lower motor neuron means below the nucleus. Nucleus of facial nerve lies in the pons. So above the nucleus, the cortico nuclear fiber.